我最爱吃就白菜心儿，来，我们尝一尝。
The Kangbao cabbage incident, illegal chemicals seized at the loading site. I'm back here in Tunkan Town, Kangbao County, the exact location where I submitted a real name report yesterday regarding a semi-truck transporting Chinese cabbage treated with a liquid formaldehyde solution. Let's take a look at the current situation on site. This is where the semi-truck was parked yesterday. The truck has already been impounded. Their operation involved harvesting cabbage from the fields, transporting it to the semi-truck, and loading it up. During the loading process, someone on the truck was dipping the stems of the cabbages into concentrated formaldehyde liquid. Because of this, the cabbages harvested from the field themselves are safe. The cabbages remaining in the fields have already been tested, and they are completely safe. To a worker on site, can you grab me a cabbage from this truck? Peel it down to the core so I can take a look. Give me a piece, let me taste it. You can eat it straight like this, right? Everyone, look at this cabbage core. The core is my absolute favorite. Let's give it a try. It actually tastes quite sweet, to be honest. The Chinese cabbages here in Tunkan, Kangbao, are just like fruit cabbages, exceptionally sweet. While we were tasting the cabbage on site, we suddenly discovered the leftover chemical solution left behind yesterday by the perpetrators. The tub and rack were used to carry out the operation right on the truck. We are now handing these items over to the authorities as physical evidence. I suspected yesterday that they had hidden it, but today we found it. The test results for the cabbages found on yesterday's semi-truck are in. The cabbages on the truck did indeed test positive for formaldehyde. However, the cabbages still growing in the field that hadn't been loaded are completely safe and free of contamination. This further proves that illegal traders carried out this act solely to cut transport costs. On July 22nd, just after 7 o'clock am, I called the police hotline while simultaneously contacting the local authorities in Tunkan Town, Kangbao County, upon receiving my tip-off. Local officials arrived on the scene within 10 minutes to meet me. I led them to the exact location where the cabbages were being loaded, and they immediately secured the site and detained the individuals involved. On site inside a minivan, officers seized 10 barrels of concentrated formaldehyde solution. 9 were still sealed, and 1 had been opened and used. Subsequent laboratory testing confirmed that the cabbages loaded onto the truck contained formaldehyde. However, comprehensive sampling and testing of the cabbages still growing in the field showed 0 traces of formaldehyde. The problem did not originate during field cultivation. It was an intentional, illegal chemical addition during the harvesting, loading, and transport stage. The suspects involved have been placed under criminal detention. I want to give a major shout out to the local authorities for their swift response.
Can you believe that the cabbage served at your local restaurant or even the delicious kimchi at your favorite Korean spot might be soaked in a powerful carcinogen? Recently, an undercover investigation video sent shockwaves through the food safety world. In major vegetable distribution hubs across Hebei, China, workers were caught dipping entire loads of fresh Chinese cabbage into large chemical basins before shipping them out. The liquid? Industrial formaldehyde diluted from solutions originally used to disinfect livestock pens. The reveal sparked massive public outrage. Soon, this toxic cabbage scandal spilled across borders. South Korea, heavily reliant on Chinese kimchi imports, plunged into widespread panic, while authorities in places like Taiwan and Southeast Asia rushed to inspect exported laundered produce. From formaldehyde-treated vegetables exposed a decade ago to today's rampant chemical preservation, why has this blatant crime become an open industry secret? And just how many hidden high-tech chemicals are secretly lurking on our dinner tables? According to undercover drone footage taken at major vegetable hubs in Kangbao County, Hebei, wholesalers looking to keep cabbages from turning black and rotting during hot summer transport were dipping cabbage roots and even entire heads into formaldehyde solutions. One worker on site even gave a chilling warning to the vlogger: only eat the bottom part, not the top. There's chemicals on it. After the exposure, local officials launched inspections and seized vehicles, but the hardest hit were innocent local farmers. As public trust collapsed overnight, cabbages that normally sold for about 0.08 a pound became completely worthless. Buyers abruptly canceled orders for hundreds of acres of untreated, safe cabbages, leaving them to rot in the fields. Devastated farmers wept. The chemically treated ones got shipped out, but nobody wants our safe ones. What kind of world is this? Even more alarming is that this isn't an isolated case, nor is it news. As early as 2012 and 2015, state media repeatedly exposed vegetable traders in Shandong and Hebei using formaldehyde to preserve cabbage over a decade ago. Wholesalers openly admitted, without dipping them in chemicals, they rot in 3 to 5 days, but dip them, and the roots stay pure white and fresh for weeks. So why has a toxic preservation method publicly exposed for over a decade managed to thrive in the supply chain? The brutal truth lies in profit. Chemically treated vegetables make money. Untreated ones lose money. It has become an untouchable, unwritten rule of the trade. The fallout from these chemical-laced cabbages extends far beyond China's borders. In neighboring South Korea, this scandal triggered a full-blown national food panic. Data shows that a staggering 99.98% of imported kimchi served in South Korean restaurants comes from China, with Shandong province serving as the primary processing and export hub. And the raw cabbages used by Shandong factories are sourced nationwide through supply chains stretching into Hebei and Inner Mongolia. When news of the formaldehyde cabbage hit South Korean social media, outrage erupted. Back in 2021, footage of a shirtless Chinese worker wading through a rusty, filthy pit to pickle cabbages caused South Korean kimchi imports from China to plummet by 31%, now escalating from gross unhygienic conditions to long-term exposure to carcinogenic formaldehyde. South Korean diners admit they no longer dare to eat kimchi at restaurants. At the same time, political commentators in Taiwan warned authorities to guard against origin laundering where Chinese produce is shipped through Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam before being re-exported. This loophole allows toxic, formaldehyde-treated vegetables to don an imported label and quietly land on the dinner tables of unsuspecting consumers worldwide. If you think you're safe just by avoiding cabbage, think again. Industry insiders with over a decade of experience reveal that soaking produce and seafood in chemical preservatives is a widespread industry trick. Insiders have even compiled a high-risk list of formaldehyde-treated foods. Packaged baby cabbages and enoki mushrooms stay fresh and firm for weeks. Frozen seafood and thawed shrimp prevents decay and adds water weight. Pickled chicken feet and tofu products bleaches and firms texture. Garlic sprouts and various mushrooms. Out-of-season strawberries and mulberries, and even cheap sweet potato noodles. Beyond formaldehyde, markets are flooded with mind-boggling chemical magic. Carrots and ginger bleached with sulfur dioxide, lotus roots soaked in industrial citric acid to look spotlessly white, and tomatoes ripened artificially that look bright red but taste like nothing. Anything that cuts costs and boosts visual appeal is greedily applied. Even more shocking, in August 2026, a pest control company in Xiamen, Fujian, which serviced dozens of major restaurant chains, was exposed for systematically using a highly toxic pesticide dichlorvos. Employees poured undiluted dichlorvos into unlabeled water bottles and sprayed it directly over tables, chairs, and even uncovered tableware. An employee confessed in an interview, "Our supervisor explicitly warned us, never eat at the restaurants we disinfect with dichlorvos." From pesticide residues to melamine milk, gutter oil, toxic formaldehyde cabbages, and now dichlorvos on tableware. Every time a food safety scandal breaks out, officials launch a special crackdown. But once the noise dies down, toxic food flows right back into the supply chain. Why does bad practice continuously drive out the good? Why have toxic preservatives and deadly pesticides persisted for decades? At its core, when regulatory oversight lacks long-term enforcement and penalties, and when the cost of breaking the law is far lower than the profits gained, businesses will ruthlessly sacrifice consumer health for cash. And as long as certain elites continue to enjoy privileged, uncontaminated special food supplies, the food safety bottom line for ordinary people will remain unprotected. Food safety shouldn't be a slogan, it's the fundamental line protecting human life. If even a simple daily meal fills people with fear, how can we talk about prosperity or quality of life? What are your thoughts on these persistent toxic vegetables? Have you ever encountered suspicious produce in your local markets? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.